It was a magical place that filled my childhood with visions to stir the imagination. And now, during the whole of a dull, dark, and soundless day in the autumn of another year, I was alone, passing through a singularly dreary tract of country, and at length found myself within reach of the melancholy house of Usher. I know not how it was, but with my first glimpse of the house after so long, unexpected sense of insufferable gloom pervaded my spirit. What was it? What unnerved me so in the contemplation of the house of Usher? Its proprietor, Roderick Usher, had been one of my boon companions in boyhood, but many years had elapsed since our last meeting. His letter, however, had lately reached me in a distant part of the country. I scanned more narrowly the real aspect of the building. Its principal feature seemed to be that of an excessive antiquity. The writer spoke of acute bodily illness, of a mental disorder which oppressed him and brought an earnest desire to see me as his best and indeed his only personal friend, in an attempt to alleviate some of his malady, and I accordingly obeyed forthwith what I still considered a very singular and haunting summons. I gazed upon him with a feeling half of pity, half of awe. Frederick, my dear friend, I have, after all this time, been waiting for your arrival. I at first thought it to be an overdone cordiality. It was with difficulty that I could bring myself to admit the identity of the man being before me with the companion of my early boyhood. He entered into what he conceived to be the nature of his malady. The most insipid food was alone endurable. The odors of all flowers proved oppressive. His eyes were tortured by even a faint light. And there were but peculiar sounds which inspired him with horror. I began to question my worthiness of being present for my friend, who now existed in a world of which I held no key. I shall perish. I dread the events of the future. I feel that the period will sooner or later arrive when I must abandon life and reason together in some struggle with the grim phantasm. Fear. But what do you fear, Roderick? I must know, what is it that torments your every moment? I admit that much of the peculiar gloom which afflicts me could be traced to a severe and long-continued illness. I speak of my tenderly beloved sister, Madeleine, my sole companion for so many long years, my last and only relative on earth. Roderick spoke with such bitterness which made me shudder. And yet, I could tell of his complete devotion towards his sister. Madeleine, her decease will leave me as the last of the ancient race of the Ushers. His voice trembled as he recounted how even in her youth Madeleine would fear the outside world. Roderick loved his sister for her purity, but the foreboding doom was forever present. The Usher's life of loneliness will mean there will be no heir. But on the closing in of the evening of my arrival at the house, she succumbed to the prostrating power destroyer. She is dead. Madeleine has died. She has left me. At the request of Roderick Usher, I personally aided him in the arrangements for the temporary entombment. And now, some days of bitter grief having elapsed, an observable change came over the features of the mental disorder of my friend. At times, again, I was obliged to resolve all into the mere inexplicable vagaries of madness. For I beheld him gazing upon vacancy for long hours, in an attitude of the profoundest attention, as if listening to some imaginary sound. It was no wonder that his terrifying condition was creeping upon me. The wild influence of his fantastic yet impressive superstitions.
not seen it? Then you shall. You must behold this. I hear it, and have heard it. We have put her living in the tomb. I now tell you that I heard the first feeble movements in the hollow coffin. I heard them many, many days ago. Yet I dare not speak. The rending of her coffin and the grating of the iron hinges of her prison and her struggles within the coppered archway of the vault. Be calm. It is the storm that draws breath, playing tricks on us both. Is she not hurrying to upbraid me for my haste? Have I not heard her footsteps on the stairs? Do I not distinguish that heavy and horrible beating of her heart? Madman! Madman! I tell you that she now stands without the door! The vision before me will stay burnt into my very soul and haunt me to the end of my days. Where I gazed, the house once stood. I saw the mighty walls rushing, as under there was a long, tumultuous shouting sound, like the voice of 1,000 waters. And the deep and dank tarn at my feet closed sullenly and silently over the fragments of the house of Usher.